want to count it up?
Something has to be done. There's hungry people out there, and we have to do it now. We're not the fifth meanest city in the country. Are you kidding? We're the meanest. You won't let people of faith feed hungry children. Jesus said, feed my lambs, so that's that. Bigots have been sitting here talking about children and the homeless. They think they can do it by using food as a weapon. God bless y'all. I don't know what else to say. I punched the walls that I built up inside my head. Well, I've been here about 6 years, protesting and bearing witness at City Hall. I used to be out at the clock tower out there, but we had assistant city manager's not here anymore. She really hassled me. She used to call the police on me, and I wasn't doing anything. So I moved my operations about 2 years ago into City Hall, and I've been sitting outside the city commissioner's office for a couple years now. So I come down here every day. There's a few rules, you know, I can't bother people that much, and I don't want to bother people. But I know a lot of people here, and there's incredibly good people here. I mean, they would rather I not be here, because who wants people criticizing you there to do it? But they limit the number of people that can be served over here at St. Francis House to 130. I mean, that's an illegal and immoral law.
Valinda Pittman is trying to eat for two.
I'm nauseated, I'm depressed, I'm angry, and I'm real hungry.
But when the mother-to-be came for a meal at St. Francis House, she was told that she would not be served.
I went and asked her, could they give me something from back there to eat? She said they couldn't do it. They don't want to lose their job.
The volunteers are left with no choice but to turn people away.
They made it clear that I had to stay in compliance or it could actually revoke my license.
The St. Francis House must cap meal servings at 1:30.
1:30. I've been rejected out of here about 5 or 6 times, and they have full trays standing there in line, and they'll lock the door and say that you can't come in here and eat because we only can serve 130 people.
I'm not necessarily homeless, but I make less than $10,000 a year right now, and I just think it's really unfair for someone like me who does work.
The thing is that really makes me aggravated is the food is free. It's donated. The people that are working there are volunteering to serve the food.
Right.
Right? So it's not like the city's paying for a damn thing.
They got food. I mean, I used to stay there. This is why I know. They have stock rooms filled of canned goods. You know, and there's no reason they can't fix all that food up.
People are going hungry, and they have food in there that they could be given to people, but because they put this limit on there, there's people turned away and can't eat the food that's right there. Why they did that, I have no idea. But it makes sense to somebody.
Back in the early to mid-90s, the homeless population started to grow in Gainesville, as it was all across the country, and a movement began to establish a place where homeless people could come for meals and for shelter, and it ended up being located downtown at the current site of St. Francis House. At the time, there were negotiations amongst the downtown business owners, the downtown residents, and the homeless advocates as to how many people could be fed at St. Francis House. The identification of 130 meals being served at St. Francis House is essentially saying that is the maximum number of people that could be served downtown without putting an undue burden on that particular neighborhood, the businesses and the residences.
Oh, Gainesville's a great place. I love it. You know, that's why we moved here 20 years ago so my kids could grow up here. It's the greatest place in the world. You know, Gainesville's a city of about 114,000 people, all types of people, all different types. Not all hippies still live in Gainesville. It's a hippie town, but, you know, you got the University of Florida here, too. Home of the Florida Gators, national champions football, basketball in the last couple of years. Mainly it's a progressive and liberal type thinking city in the South. So that's why it doesn't make sense that Gainesville, of all the cities in the country, would be the only one that has a limit on how many people they can feed. It's ridiculous.
I'm not aware, other than Gainesville, Florida, any other city in the country who have put a limit on how many people can be fed at a specific meal setting, whether it's outside or inside. And I've never heard of such a thing. And in 2009, we ranked this city number 5 in terms of being the meanest city in the country for the homeless.
Well, St. Francis House has every 5 years, I think, has to get a special use permit.
St. Francis House, special use permit, renewal for any food distribution center for the needy.
There was a limit of 130 people, and that was part of the special use permit. Until recently, they simply didn't enforce it. You know, it was there, but they didn't enforce it.
And then the downtown residents and the business owners got together and they felt that like they were being burdened enough, so they came to the city and filed complaints, and so they kowtowed to them and started enforcing it.
I live directly behind St. Francis House. I do have some pictures that I've seen for 7 years, the vagrant people who urinate, defecate, and litter the area. And here's an individual who was just urinating outside walking into St. Francis.
I don't have an issue with people wanting a free meal. I have an issue with the sheer volume of people that are lingering around downtown and on the properties I'm responsible for. That is why there's a limit on the meals, and I think it needs to be adhered to strictly.
And then Ken McGurn, king developer downtown, filed a lawsuit against St. Francis House.
They are breaking the law. We are here to demand that they be held accountable for their actions.
He later withdrew, and he told the Gainesville Sun it was a threat, that if you don't follow this 130-person limit, we're going to close you down altogether.
It's time to focus on ending homelessness instead of perpetuating exactly what we've been doing forever.
Mr. Chair, I move approval of the special use permit, the basis that the St. Francis House serves 130 meals per day. Failure to comply with the requirements shall result in the city initiating action.
All those in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes.
Now their new effort to enforce all laws about how many people can be fed at a soup kitchen, and they actually had people from codes enforcement standing outside there counting.
We had 100 people today turned down at St. Francis House, including pregnant women, children, and the elderly. And I wonder if you all can do something about this. This is the 11th day in a row. That's 1,100 meals. What happens to a pregnant woman's baby if she doesn't eat? I don't know. Does anybody know that? Or what happens to a child if he doesn't eat? You know,
Fitzpatrick,
these are things I'm trying. Well, these are things I'm trying to figure out, and you know, there's nothing more important you're going to deal with today. That's why I want to run for politics. Somebody's got to speak for the poor. Somebody's got to stand up and say, no, this is wrong. We are not feeding human beings here. My motto is going to be 131 is done. It is done. I'll raise enough stink to where we'll get that garbage thrown out of here.
Okay, so right here we need the office that you're seeking, which would be Gainesville Commissioner District 4. The city has set their election dates for March 16th, 2010. If there's a runoff, it would be April 13th. If you want to go ahead and start filling it out, you can.
He several times has run for office, and he does so, I think, because, on the one hand, he has a wonderful and profound sense of humor.
The qualifying fee is $309.29, or you state that your personal resources are not such that you can pay the qualifying fee.
I put my personal resources in the parking meter this morning.
Pat has no real expectation that he will be elected. I think he sees his campaign as serving a purpose, even if he does not win the election.
He's primarily interested in exchange for the filing fee, getting, you know, a quote in the paper every time there's election coverage.
His whole campaign is based this time on asking why 130? The 131st person, why can't that person be fed?
Pat Fitzpatrick for City Commission.
Right.
You want it long ways or sideways?
Long ways, if you don't mind. Tell them how much you're charging me for this.
Charging him 10 cents.
10 cents, that's how much I spent on my campaign so far.
He does tell it like it is. He doesn't always say it in the nicest way. But he's got a good heart. He means well.
Hey, we're making some signs. How you doing?
Can I say something? My hair's a wreck, but anyway, can I say something about Mr. Pat here? Pat is the only one that cares about us. Even though, Mr. Pat here, even though sometimes people don't think he's legit, he is. Because he cares. He cares about the homeless, except the problem with Pat running, he does not have full, what do they call it?
Mental capacity
No.
is probably what you...
That's not what I'm looking for. Please, cut that out. He doesn't have full support. But he is up there every day fighting for us.
Please don't pretend to know, like you know what the homeless want, or you know what's going on. You're going home to homes tonight. Your children are eating tonight. And you talk about all the people you talk to. You didn't talk to Donald Tucker about this, because Donald Tucker froze to death behind the Kentucky Fried Chicken last January. But he wasn't one of us. He didn't have a Volvo. He didn't have his Birkenstocks on. I don't even think he had a master's degree.
Pat tends to be something of a firebrand. Sometimes he will speak out of order or say things from the podium that wouldn't be said in polite society.
We have the same type of Southern fascist bigots, Klan, Nazi types that are coming up here talking all this bullshit about what's going on and all that stuff. Get their heads out of their asses, take their diapers off, and stop whining.
Profanity, Mr. Fitzpatrick.
You know, he'll go into the city commission and get thrown out, you know, 3 times a week, and he calls them bootlickers for the capitalist dogs of oppression, or, you know, yells and screams.
He's a nice guy, he's friendly, but his demeanor in meetings is very different from his demeanor in a personal conversation. So that's sort of one. I think he's kind of performing.
Your Honor, there are assholes in Gainesville, and I'm one of them. I know this. I'm one of them, and you yourself have probably called me one. They are people. No, ma'am. There are people letting people starve here.
I think we could almost view Pat in Shakespearean terms. I mean, there's an ancient tradition of the court jester is the only one who's allowed to speak truth to the king.
First off, I was wondering if maybe one of y'all make a motion to cancel the meeting tonight, because it's going to be below freezing, and there's 1,200 homeless people need a place to stay. We could put them in here. Be more humane doing that than anything you all going to do tonight. No motions?
He keeps us reminded of the issues that are important to him, and I think that's part of the role of any advocate, is to not let the issues for which they advocate fall out of the scope of attention of who they're advocating to. And he does that very well.
I think of Pat as a prophetic person, a person willing to play the fool and remind us that we're really the fools if we are not willing to use the authority that we've been granted by citizens to take care of the citizens.
You know, this kind of stuff I've been reading. This is the Compendium of the Social Doctrine of the Church. Cry Justice, the Bible on Hunger and Poverty. Proverbs 29:7, a good person knows the rights of the poor, but wicked people cannot understand such things. Makes sense, doesn't it? Somebody's hungry, you got food, you give them food, you know? I mean, there's no big intellectual deal, man. You know, you just do it. It makes sense. You got 2 sandwiches, you give 1. You got 2 places to sleep in your house, you let people sleep in the bedroom. I figure, you know, if you're gonna work with the homeless and do that, you gotta take personal responsibility. So I usually, or a lot of the time, have somebody staying with me, you know. There's somebody staying with me now that's down on their luck, homeless, so I let them have the bedroom, and I take the couch. I got this room out here, which is fine with me. Hey, Larry, what's the matter?
I don't want the camera in my face.
It's not in your face.
I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, okay, okay. Let's go. You know, it's a funny thing, though. I love them, I really do, the city commissioners. It's just they're making this horrible, horrible mistake. We are not allowed to even break the 130 rule at Thanksgiving or Christmas. And people are outraged by this.
When the issue came up of 130 and the enforcement of it, it was centered on the upcoming holidays, eventually holidays of Thanksgiving and Christmas particularly. Foreseeing that the holidays we would serve 500, 600, 700, we thought probably they're not going to say anything about it. Well, the city informed us that they intended to hold us on the holidays as well to the 130 limit.
We are ready to call to order the Gainesville City Commission meeting for Thursday, November 5th. And our first item will be a moment of silence. If everyone could please join us for a moment of silence. Thank you so much. Is there any member of the public who wishes to speak regarding today's consent agenda? Yes. Mr. Fitzpatrick, are you speaking regarding fluoridation?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to speak on fluoridation.
Okay, Mr. Fitzpatrick,
change this. Can we go back just a little bit and pray for the 131st person that went to St. Francis today? I wonder if we can just do that. I missed the prayer. We can use that moment of silence to pray for that veteran or that woman or that pregnant woman or whoever it was that got turned away at St. Francis today. Can we do that?
Mr. Fitzpatrick, okay.
You know, if I was a developer, we'd be praying for $500,000 to go do something, build something stupid over here.
I'm just going to share with folks who aren't here regularly that part of our responsibility is try to provide a level playing field for everyone who comes forward to speak. We ask everyone not to cheer, not to boo. For folks who cannot respect that, I will ask the police officer to have you removed.
You know why I do this? Who else can do it? Everybody has someone they got to answer to. You know, I mean, there's very few of us that can say the things that I can say up there. You know what I mean?
It has been suggested that help is being brought to solve a problem that St. Francis House has. And I think that's backwards. We did not have a problem for 30 years serving on Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Father Gillespie talked about Christmas and Thanksgiving and all the masses. And the citizens, as you can see, all up there rallied behind it and are here to say we shouldn't have this during not only Thanksgiving. I hope they talk about they shouldn't have it any time. There's people going hungry.
This, to me, is an atrocity, and I am ashamed of being from Gainesville, Florida, which is now one of the meanest cities in this country.
I don't consider it our law, and I'm astounded that that law is in place. And I'm not interested in hearing how long ago it was put in place. It's yours now, darlings, because you were elected.
Pat Fitzpatrick, I'm civil indigent as declared by the courts, and I'm a candidate for District 4 City Commission. But I don't tell that to everybody because that's like you're joining the Taliban. Man, you guys are in some hot water, I'll tell you. You know, it's like about as popular as the swine flu. Why do we have 130? Let's get to it. A couple carpet-bagging hustlers came into town, said, you give us a bunch of money, we'll build you some bricks and mortars, and you get rid of the homeless. And now, we're not the 5th meanest city in the country. Are you kidding? We're the meanest. We are universally looked at as fools here in Gainesville. And we got to do something about that. God bless y'all. I hope we get it together.
I'll close just by saying challenges that we're trying to address, we are addressing them imperfectly. I don't think anyone would debate that. But I also don't think anyone who has participated carefully and honestly in this discussion would say that we haven't been trying. It's incorrect that anybody sitting up here is unfeeling, uncaring. Shameful is a word a lot of people like to use in email. We are actively trying to address the issue. We are doing it within the constraints that we have. If we had this kind of energy on a day-to-day basis, I think we'd be further down the line, to be honest.
Are you telling us that people of faith and conscience are supposed to follow immoral laws? Is that what you're telling us? Are you telling Christians not to feed the hungry? I mean, I believe we're supposed to help the hungry somewhere, Your Honor. And all the stuff that the city is doing, number 131 could have been today a child or a pregnant woman.
With that, we will move to a vote. The city staff have developed a recommendation to open at the city's expense the Martin Luther King Center on Thanksgiving and, if necessary, also Christmas in order to facilitate a positive experience. All in favor indicate with the sign of aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you to everyone who participated.
Our mission is to feed the ones that are in need, and that's what we want to do. So this year, it's a little more complicated. We're having to prepare twice the food in this location and then use volunteers in 2 locations, transport clients to other locations. So before, we would just do it all out of this one facility. And it doesn't only burden us to do this, it burdens the people that are in need as well.
It's certainly complicated things a lot, but we agreed to do this, so we're managing the best we can. Now we just need to fill up the tables with some people.
St. Francis has anticipated that hundreds of people would come for a Thanksgiving meal. In the first hour and a half, only 6 people showed up at Martin Luther King Center to get a meal. It's just trying to get people from point A to point B to have a meal and you're inherently going to have drop-off compared with if you just provide the meal at point A.
We have got to do this in a non-ad hoc way. It's got to be planned. And I know that's easy to say and hard to do, but boy, the more we see what happens,
the more comprehensive, thoughtful approach, the more planned approach is to ask, do we need this limit at all?
But I just don't know that we've answered that question. The general policy is not just a number, it's that they should not be provided unlimited at one location. So what is the number that could be accommodated?
The same number as at Wendy's. There's no upper limit. It's 75 at a time, or however many seats there are in the dining room at one time. In terms of the idea that this limit is going to disperse services downtown, in fact, it hasn't had that effect. And the result has been it's just being provided outdoors on the downtown plaza instead of inside at St. Francis House. Well, our first drive out was September 26, 2002. And it got started partly by people who were tired of working for agencies. I was volunteering at St. Francis House. You know, you come up, you want a pair of socks. And I have to look up your sock date on the computer because you're allowed 2 pairs of socks a month. And, you know, a lot of us just got tired of
having to deal with people bureaucratically.
All right, we'll start up here. We usually have socks, candles, meds for like colds and stuff like that.
I have a regular crew, and what's wonderful is in the beginning days we wanted to work in cooperation with the homeless community. We wanted to work together with them. And now 4 of my regular volunteers are homeless people.
On average, I make about 140 bags. It all depends on the time of the month. Now, the last Tuesday, Thursday of the month, way up. And there's a lot of people that's just hungry, you know? Even the rich are falling.
Look at that picture.
Pat really taught me how to be a homeless volunteer. You know, Pat was on the very first drive out, and Pat has no problem. He'll just walk right up to somebody and clap him on the back and say, "Hey, brother, how you doing?" And I just watched him and learned how to do that.
Well, Miss Arupa comes out here once a week, and she provides things that we can't get. Spends a little time, gives us a little news, we visit. Yeah, she provides a really valuable service.
Come and get your bags. Come and get your bags.
What's up, guys? Hey. How's everybody been?
We hang out with people. I mean, that's part of what we do is we don't just hand them a bag of food and leave. We're a friendship-based ministry, and we hang out and talk to them and what's up, like the guys out in Williston Road have planted a garden, and how are your collard greens doing? And horse around and laugh. I mean, we've really gotten to be friends with these folks.
That's for you. That ain't Army stuff either. That's good stuff. Now, that's why I don't drink coffee today, because I started drinking it when I was in the Air Force. I said, if this is what people, I thought there was something wrong with people who drank coffee, because it was like mud, you know? But this,
morale is a very important part of it, because they know that we care about them.
yeah, that looks like Haight-Ashbury in the 60s. Yeah, that's cool.
Pack it up.
You know, they are the lepers, they're the outcasts of our time. And yet they're human beings just as good as anybody else and a lot better than some people.
Thank you once again. Love you all. Hey, you gentlemen have a good evening.
See ya. Take care. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Eventually make our way downtown. And we spend probably an hour downtown. That's where we see the bulk of the people. It's people who are most deeply troubled.
To not be able to feed somebody anytime you want. Yeah. Any kind of a law like that is completely immoral.
I mean, it's just incredible.
There's a huge emotional response to the issue of the 130 meal limit. The emotional response comes before a complete understanding of sort of what exactly the issue is and what exactly is happening.
The argument for the limit is based on the idea that you don't want to take these services and cluster them together in large concentrations, because what happens then is no one wants to invest money in that area. If you take the social services and you break them up and you put them in various places throughout the community, not only can you serve a wider community, but you don't concentrate it all in one place.
I think there are many more suitable areas to accommodate the population of homeless than in the middle of what is supposed to be our metropolitan area. Our guests are impacted through solicitation, and that occurs on a daily, hourly basis. And we're also affected, once again, by the stigma that accompanies this area.
To really have a flourishing downtown in the long run produces a strong community and a strong economy. It becomes the core of that, where the seeds of economic development and job generation can happen. If people will not come to the downtown out of some kind of fear, well-placed or misplaced, of people who are hanging out and drinking, say in a central area like the plaza, who stop people on the street and ask them for money and are threatening sometimes, then you got a problem. You are not going to have a healthy core to your city, and people are going to move further and further away.
They want to create this little bourgeoisie, middle-class fantasy, and anybody who doesn't fit into it, they want to make them disappear. If you bought your beer at the 7-Eleven and drank it behind a bush, they don't want you. If you are staggering out of Harry's, well, hey, you know, you're part of the economy.
We're out in front of City Hall. We're doing a little picketing. It's Christmas Eve. It's so beautiful down here, you know? I mean, just look at the beauty of these leaves here. You know, it's like I always say, you know, look at this, man. If they just put their money in the right place, you know what I mean? If they just put their money in the right place. I mean, what happens if we put the money? What's up?
My wife died here on Lucas.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Here, maybe.
Oh, praise be to God.
Yeah, here's the fire. You take care of Oh, no, you take care of yourself. No, God bless you. It's yours.
God bless y'all.
You take care. No,
that's your son.
That's for you. No, that's not my son. I wouldn't claim it if it was, but no, he's not my son. He's my buddy. Merry Christmas. Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? But he'll be okay.
Katie got out of high school. Now she's majoring in business, which I'm trying to talk her out of. I think she'd be a great union organizer.
Well, I love Dad's involvement and his dedication to his cause. Dad knows how to, you know, speak to people and, you know, handle people, and he's taught me a lot. I'm definitely a lot like my dad.
Any stray animal, any stray person comes into this house. She's got 3 bedrooms, and they're always full with people staying here, people who've lost their homes or
I'm always willing to help somebody.
Yeah,
if they need
feeding
it.
everybody.
I can't say no. So I guess it's a big part of me being his daughter is I can't say no.
Don't put too much of that shit in there. You know, I'm her dad. I mean, you know, he's generous. No, I'm not. I'm pissed off. I'm mad at the system, man. Have been for 40 years.
It's called Ernie's Flop House. And what it was is just a big old room full of bunks in there, and it was $3 a night you could stay. And it was a perfect place if you were drinking. But, you know, this is the hub of Immokalee. This is third world America. I got out of the service in '72, then I went to college and got a GI Bill to pay for it. And I was living a pretty upper middle class lifestyle, had things pretty much made, and I said, I'm gonna go to law school and be some kind of corporate lawyer or something, you know, make enough money to live comfortably. Like anybody else, I've had some troubles. I came here the first time after a divorce, my first wife, and I was flat broke, didn't have anything. I decided to do a year as a Vista volunteer, and I said, well, do you have anything in Florida? And I came down here, and this was at the time, and probably still is one of the poorest places in the country per capita. I was real confused that first year. You know, I sat down here and really became immersed in it, ran all over these Everglades, just taking care of things with these migrant farm workers. You know, going into people's houses and seeing how people had to live and seeing people work so very, very hard. You know, the whole idea is to pay them as little as you can, then take it back. You see, the poverty's hidden from you in this country. Like, who has ever been to Immokalee, or why would people come here? And even if you go down the main street, you notice they made it look nice if you were cutting through here to go to Everglades City or Naples or something. You know, once you see this poverty, it fits right in with my political philosophy about how there's something wrong with our system. I spent my year here, then I went back to Orlando and got a regular job working with juvenile delinquents, and you know, that's maybe when it hit. It just said, I can't do this. I can't work within this bureaucracy. You got a lot of freedom in Vista to do what you wanted, and so I came back into Vista for another tour. Just sort of been doing advocacy work ever since then.
We give them legal arguments why they ought to repeal the limit. We give them emotional arguments why they ought to appeal the limits. So far, we haven't gotten them to repeal the limits. But I'm not giving up, and I think if we don't give up, we're ultimately, the commissioners will have to do something.
You speak very passionately, logically, reasonably. It doesn't make any difference. They're not going to change their minds because you're being logical and rational about it.
It benefits us to always maintain the moral high ground, I think.
No, it doesn't. We already have the moral high ground. Nonviolent civil disobedience is the way to go. The legal system is not working. The political system is not working.
I would say the civil aspect of the disobedience is imperative, that we must maintain, not to do detriment to our dignity in the process.
My thought would be is we show up in mass and we all consistently urge the commission to repeal the limits, and we might have slightly different reasons or arguments in support of that position, but if we're all asking for the same thing and we're all obviously on the same side and we're the dominant presence at that meeting, then that communicates. It's timely tonight to consider whether this code provision ought to be repealed entirely. Now, obviously, you can't repeal this limit, but you can recommend to the City Commission that the limit be repealed, and that's what I'm asking you to do tonight.
I'm gonna want to sit in there anyway. I'm uncomfortable in that room.
For most Americans, feeding the hungry is without doubt a religious obligation.
I'm gonna take my signs in case it starts raining.
Now, there are many people who cannot walk down the street and see a person in need. They cannot refuse to give that person help. And the reason they feel that way has everything to do with their religious obligation.
And you advocate for homeless?
Yeah.
Let me shake your hand, because I'm out here myself.
What's your name?
Richard.
Richard, good to meet you. I'm Pat.
I mean, over there at St. Francis, I've given my place up to women and children all because they were number 131 and all.
God bless you, brother. That's the most important thing anybody's done that I've heard of in a long time.
We want to feed people, so let us do it and have that standing up and representing what our desires are. Say to the City Commission, get rid of the ban, feed people.
Thank you. The presentations tonight indicate that there are obvious problems with the 130, but there are people who speak out very strongly against increasing the limit.
At some point, Mr. Chair, I think it's within our purview to decide what to do.
Is that what you were saying?
My friendly amendment was that we approve additional distribution of food for all national holidays and give that to the City Commission rather than just the 3 that were requested. and absolutely recommend the repeal of the 130 limit.
I will support the motion this evening.
All those in favor indicate by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion has passed.
We have with us today Pat Fitzpatrick. Pat is running for District 4, the Gainesville City Commission. Why did you want to run for District 4? What made you say, okay, I need to take it to another level?
The main reason is this 130 limit at St. Francis House. My name's Pat Fitzpatrick, and I'm running for one reason, and you can sum it up, and that's because I want to give a special preference to the poor.
We've got to feed the hungry. That's got to be our #1 priority.
He's over here with this 130 limit, which is just plain immoral, and just ignore it. Forget them over at the city commission. Bring food over there, feed everybody.
We're #1 meanest city in the country as long as we got that. We're not #5, we're #1.
Okay, in District 4, the other 4 candidates, first off, there's Mason Alley. On the right-wing side, they call it, but he sure knows what he's talking about. He would be really good for the homeless. Then there's Nathaniel Sperling, who's running as a fiscal conservative. He won't be for the 130 because he thinks it's a private property issue. Randy Wells, he was on the planning board, one of the people that voted to eliminate completely the 130 limit. And then there's Penny Wheat, who's a legend. She's 17 years on the county commission, but unfortunately, she's for the limit.
If someone disagrees with either your position or those of the most vocal homeless advocate, does that by default make them mean?
I don't think so. What makes them mean is the fact that we have food and we're not feeding people. $3 and 10 cents at bar pound.
We have in excess of 200 signatures on our petition. Thank you, people. And we have an opportunity next Thursday, the 18th, to go tell the city commissioners to their faces, we've had it with these limits. Feed everyone. I get excited, I get emotional, but I'm nothing compared to our next speaker. Please give it up for Pat Fitzpatrick, candidate for City Commission.
Thanks, Joe. Who can tell me that I can't give a sandwich to somebody? Is that the most amazing thing you've ever heard? Well, it's time. It's time. This Thursday, if they don't say we can feed as many people as we want every day, I'm going to start collecting right in the middle of the street milk for homeless children. And if they arrest me, they arrest me. Take me to trial. Take me to trial. You can throw me in jail, you can beat me, you can kill me, but you will never have my obedience.
We're at a point where the commission has sort of tried to avoid deciding the issue, trying to put a Band-Aid on it by proposing a holiday exception instead of confronting the reality that this limit just doesn't make sense. And I'm hopeful that the stars will align and the forces will be present to make the city commission change.
My name's Ken McGurn. I've been redeveloping downtown since the 1980 and dealing with this problem since 1981.
We first put these petitions out at the rally on Saturday. 71, 91, 93.
It's not in their best interest to serve fewer meals. If they don't produce numbers, they don't get any money. It's not in his best interest to have fewer people homeless.
What the ordinance does is create criminals. The very thing that they're trying to prevent, they help to cause. Number 131 has to eat. He either has to panhandle or he has to steal something to survive.
We are known to be a freebie. They can come here and get free meals. They can not get hassled because we're a generous community. Unfortunately, if people are out there, and the marginal people that they're feeding are crooks. They're criminals. They're rapists. The reason they're homeless is they can't go anyplace else. They'll get arrested.
1,062 signatures. That's pretty impressive to me. I don't know what kind of standards the commission has, but I hope they'll find it impressive.
We don't need to serve more meals. We need to get the people jobs and get them off the street. We need to end homelessness.
All right, I'm ready.
I honestly, from day to day, from morning to night, I change my own viewpoint on this, because the hardest decision a public official ever makes is when they have people they like, respect, and feel obligation to on both sides of an issue.
The agenda item tonight is a proposal for a holiday exception to the 130 meal limit. That's just totally insufficient. What needs to happen is that the meal limit should be repealed and instead be replaced by regulations that govern the behavior of people who receive services so that those people do not create a negative impact for the surrounding neighborhoods.
I see the same prostitutes, the same drug addicts, the same drug pushers sitting out waiting to get fed in front of St. Francis House. And you can't tell me that this man right here doesn't know who they are, and he continues to feed them and support them.
You know, everybody has a right to eat unless they're breaking the law, and I unfortunately don't enforce the law for the city of Gainesville. That's what we use the police for.
Since this 130-person limit was imposed, we are now finding people rather routinely who haven't had anything to eat in 1 day and 2 days, and they're starving.
I'm getting pissed. We've had serious problems with the transients that we bring to this community. I would suggest to you, one of the rules, if you come to a soup kitchen or you come to get anything that's free, register. Get in the system. We can solve the homeless problem for those who want not to be homeless.
Next speaker, please.
Pat Fitzpatrick, Civil Indigent. Is there a management plan or a behavior code of conduct for the OK Corral parking garage down there where people are getting murdered? Is there one of those? I mean, in other words, you all are more concerned about some asshole pissing in the street down here. Click, click, click. You're all concerned about some guy pissing in the street down here when the city's getting sued for $1 million. Downtown business regentrification is racist and a failure. I'm gonna buy a school bus and I'm gonna go all over town and I'm gonna pick up every homeless person, every poor person I can and take them to that plaza. I want everybody in this city to start coming down to this plaza to feed people.
I'm not sure. Are we ready for a motion?
If you're ready to make one.
Part one, move that we establish 3 days per year on which the cap is lifted at St. Francis House. Thanksgiving and Christmas and one holiday of St. Francis House's choice. Part two, direct staff to report back to the City Commission on the policing of a code of conduct.
Madam Mayor, I'll second that motion.
Are we ready for a vote? All in favor of the motion indicate with a sign of aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
So you didn't rescind the 130 thing. 10 o'clock Tuesday morning, we're gonna do civil disobedience in front of the Hampton Inn. Don't let these fascists get away with that. They want downtown, we'll shut it down. Fascist. To see them vote 7-0 just to give 3 days, you know, it's an insult. Everybody was defeated. Everybody, you know, we lost. And even that night, I was so depressed, I thought about quitting the campaign. Then I got to thinking, I talked to Father Gillespie the next day, and he goes, we just got to keep on fighting, you know, and it's true. After a few days to think about it, I'm gonna double my efforts. People say things like, well, how useful do you think that is? And frankly, I'm not that interested in how useful it is. You just need to do something. Randy! My friend! I love it, man. It's been a pleasure. The best, they asked me the best part of running, you know, people do, and meeting you and the other folks, you know what I mean? Good luck to you, and I mean
Thank you, Pat.
Whether I win or lose, I'm gonna keep fighting for it. It'd be nice to win. And I always got this feeling that maybe I got 50% of them just said, let's vote for this guy. Haven't untied this tie in years because I don't have a tie one. We're having a party tonight at City Hall. It's a victory with a small V party. And I haven't seen the results. Let me go find out. Let me go find out. Am I the new city commissioner? Oh, let's see. Oh my goodness, I got 4.33% for 80 people. Well, 79 people, because I know I voted for myself. It's been a fun time. I mean, it's been wonderful. But I think you can actually do more if you're not elected. Running for office was just one part of the whole process, you know? I mean, to keep the thing on the front burner. That's the important thing. I'm not gonna quit. I mean, we can't quit. We can't quit. You know, I mean, I hope I'm not having to sit out here a year from now. But you have to be optimistic about this. I mean, it's not like we're asking for the world. But I'll never stop being naive about politics.